Hello, it's Monday, July 7th. Welcome to Citizen McCain. I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Miranda, did you have a nice 4th of July?
Yeah, it was nice. My in-laws bought a new house, so we went and it has a pool in the backyard, which is so fabulous. Like the ultimate luxury to have your own pool. So we had a
Right.
nice little pool party and did a cookout, and the girls just swam and swam and swam the whole day. And then just when I thought they were finished, they swam some more. And it was great. It was such a wonderful time. It was very intimate, and everybody came, and it was lovely. So we had a really good time. How about
That's
you?
awesome. We went to local parade, in Clarkdale, Arizona,
You
which was
love a
so cute.
parade.
I do. Everybody loves a parade. And then we just made hot dogs with friends and swam and same thing. Really nice. I love the 4th of July. But sadly, one of the stories that we're all following that has just been so hard is this tragedy in Texas. Officials say that 10 children and one counselor from Camp Mystic, which is a Christian girls camp along the Guadalupe River, remain unaccounted for. Across the state, there are still 41 known missing people. The Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in 45 minutes on Friday, which is the second highest ever on record. I want to show a clip really quickly of the Camp Mystic kids on a bus tour. Number one, please.
Bound. I'll shout it from the mountain tops. Praise God. I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. I'll shout it from the mountain tops. Praise God. I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on.
Oh
So
gosh.
obviously, you just sent your daughter to camp. At some point, I assume I will send my children to camp. They're too little right now. I think it's just like everybody's horror movie. It's like one of the. It was so I was so disturbed by this. Since the news broke, as I think every normal American was, but there's just something about drowning and being at camp and like water rising so high and flash flood warnings, and obviously there's a lot of questions about um, why there wasn't more warning for people, even though the National Weather Service did give warning, but the campers were probably unaware with anything since Wi-Fi capability was not allowed. What's your feelings on this? Obviously, we are all praying for people in Texas and for the families and people, the loved ones who have lost, people in all this. I'm not great with things like this because it's a fucking tragedy and it's
Yeah.
horrible and it's so sad.
And that's the thing is like I just want to really remove myself from it and I can't and I don't want to because that easily could have been one of my girls. My daughter is 8 years old. She just got back from camp a week ago or so. And just like those girls on the bus were singing their camp songs when we were driving her home after picking her up from a parking lot after she got dropped off from a bus, just like that, she was singing us all of her camp songs, just exactly like that. Because she was so excited and happy coming home from camp. Obviously unharmed and uninjured, save for some, arguments with some friends. But
Mhm.
uh, I can't fathom I mean, even just for myself, she forgot her backpack that had her little air tag in it, and I was stressed out not being able to track her location. So the thought of, and there was absolutely nothing wrong. She doesn't have a cell phone, but I, not being able to know where she was all the time was stressful for me. Imagine a terrible tragedy situation like this, and you can't get in touch with your kids or their counselors, and you have no idea what's going on. And they said nearly half the campers died from this camp. To imagine that you pray one of you, like one of those that are alive is yours, or imagine you have multiple children there. Those aren't good odds for you. So. I don't know what my point is with this. There is no sense to any of this.
Mhm.
It's just the worst kind of tragedy you could ever imagine. And you want to think that you're untouchable from it when you send your kids away to a place like this, that it is going to be safe because nothing's ever happened there before. It's a safe camp. You send your kids there. There's kids that have been going there for years and years and years. Nothing's happened. So um, I don't know what the answer is. The answer is not stop sending your kids to camp, but
Yeah.
I I don't know. I have
I
no
do
idea.
want to
There is no
show
answer here.
one bright spot in this is that there was a really incredible Coast Guard swimmer named Scott Ruskin who saved 165 people. He did this really incredible interview this morning on Good Morning America. Number 8, please.
I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life, and I just kind of need to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters.
Talk about how that works. You got 165, close to 200 kids there. How do you get them out? Just one by one?
Yeah, sir, it's a great question. So the United States Army National Guard was landing their 60s with Task Force 1, some of their rescue swimmers, and they were able to land. We kind of came up with 2 different landing zones. There was one off an archery field and then one at a soccer field. So yeah, we were able to kind of land those 60s in there. And then I was kind of the main guy as far as like grabbing people, usually like 15 to 10 kids at a time, maybe one adult with them, and bringing them over to those 60s and getting them to a different LZ that was kind of safe and had more first responders than just myself out there.
So he saved 165 kids, and as he said, he was putting 10 to 15 kids. If you watch the whole interview, he had only been trained for 6 months to do this kind of work, which is incredible. He's only 26 years old. I think if I were the president or working in the White House right now, I would have a special event or ceremony honoring this man. Apparently, he was the only person at the Coast Guard base on July 4th when this happened that was available. He was like the first person in. And again, like, so young, really obviously like profile and courage and all of this. And he's done quite a few interviews and he's just, a hero. And I think that it would be really good to really highlight him and what he has done to save those children. I just, I don't have a lot more to say other than we're praying for everyone and all the people from Camp Mystic and all the people in Texas and Hill Country. We have a lot of friends that live in Hill Country between you and me, Miranda. It's a really gorgeous area in Texas. And it's just horrific. And it's, like I said, every parent's nightmare from hell. Yes, but I really hope that the White House does a special event for that Coast Guard employee, Scott Ruskin, because he's really quite a hero. Okay, just a reminder, if you're listening on the podcast and you want to join us on Zoom, you can register to do that at 2a.tv/Megan. And lastly, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do it at youtube.com/@CitizenMcCain YouTube. You guys have been doing a really good job. We've had a lot of bump lately in our YouTube channel. We're really appreciative for everyone subscribing and supporting and keeping this little show on the air or whatever, on the YouTube, on the whatever, on the Spotify, on whatever you're on your
on
phone while you're sitting on the toilet watching it. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't care where you watch
Don't
it.
discriminate. Watch wherever. Yeah.
And just a reminder to please raise your digital hand if you want to ask me, Miranda, or our new guest, Rachel Bade, a question. So we are so excited to welcome our old friend, Rachel Bade, who is a Politico Capital bureau chief and senior Washington columnist. And she's also an ABC contributing political correspondent. That's a whole mouthful. Rachel, you're the Capital bureau chief for Politico and a senior Washington columnist and an ABC contributing political correspondent. Is there anything else I need to hit? It's a lot of titles.
What do we miss?
I'm a jack of many trades. What can I say? I don't know.
Rescues animals on the weekend. Yes. Go on.
I would
Rachel,
do that. I would do that.
I was getting ready this morning. I'm in Sedona, Arizona right now, which is why my studio looks different. And my husband came in and said, please tell Rachel I think she's one of the greatest political journalists working, and that I really enjoyed seeing her fireworks with your daughter this weekend. And I'm sorry if I'm messing that up. So what happened with fireworks with your daughter before we get into all the news of the day?
So my daughter just turned 3 a couple weekends ago, and we haven't had the opportunity to take her to see fireworks. Obviously, Megan, you've got little ones. Bedtime is 7:30, and if you go past that, God help us all, right?
Totally.
I was gonna take her to see her first fireworks, and it really paid off. I mean, she was grouchy for 2 days after that, but just the look on her face when the fireworks were going off, totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We let the kids hold a sparkler, and that was pretty much as good as they got. That's all I could handle. I was
And
like,
your house is still intact, Megan?
Yes, everything's fine. It was just one
That's
little one.
good.
I was like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't. But they really like that. That's all I can handle. There's a lot of like heat warnings. I was actually talking with Wes, who's in studio with me. There's a lot of people in Arizona, like it's so dry. You can't
Oh,
even like
yeah.
light a cigarette anywhere because it could start a bad forest fire. So
Oh, yeah.
anyway, Rachel, we were just talking about this Texas flood story, which is obviously everybody's, we were saying just like horrible nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't like playing blame games in these type of situations because I think tragedies happen. But I do want to play a clip for you from Dana Bash over the weekend, sort of placing blame on the Trump administration. Number 2, please.
And just talking about the federal government and even the local government, 2 Texas National Weather Service offices involved in forecasting and warning about flooding on the Guadalupe River are missing some key staff members. A director of the NWS union told CNN that the Austin San Antonio office is missing a warning coordination meteorologist due to the Trump administration's buyouts. Do you have any indication whether those or other cuts helped play a role in the fact that the people in the flood zone were not prepared and certainly not evacuated?
So, Rachel, I don't know if this is fair, but do you think there is any, people are just questioning if the cuts to the federal workforce in any way could have played into this? From everything that Miranda and I have researched, it doesn't seem to be the case, and it was more a local failure with not enough warning locally. Do you have any take on this or any research or anything you can share on this?
Yeah, look, I think what often happens when we see tragedies like this is that people, they want answers. They want to point the finger at someone to sort of alleviate the pain and suffering. They want answers and they want to see a head roll. And so I think that is sort of what you're seeing right now. Obviously, whenever we see a shooting with, children who die, a lot of people talk about gun control. When you see, a plane accident like we saw here in Washington, D.C., there was a lot of questions about whether it could have been, prevented, were air traffic controllers adequately staffed. But the reality of the situation right now is that there is no evidence that the DOJ cuts in any way influenced what happened in Texas. I mean, and quite the contrary. I mean, the National Weather Service, they issued the alerts they were supposed to much earlier in the day before, sort of increasingly more alarmist as the day went on. And the timing of it was just so awful and tragic, and that it happened in the middle of the night. This is rural Texas. People were sleeping, and nobody foresaw the sort of weather that swept into that area and killed so many people. Or otherwise, they would have seen alerts earlier. So, and as you mentioned, the local sort of authorities there was a number of local officials who said, look, no, we actually did have the right staffing in place at the National Weather Service. They have sort of refuted that sort of suggestion that it could have been some sort of DOJ cuts. There was an understanding, my understanding is, in the area that this was a problem area for a long time. I mean, more than a decade even. They had a problem with flooding with that, young girls camp beforehand. Like this was a concern of them back then. There apparently was regulations in place where they weren't actually supposed to build the camp in that area, and yet they did. So look, there's a lot of, I think, questions going around, rightfully so, what could change. But so far, the evidence suggests that people in the area knew this was a problem. There was a discussion about whether they needed a better sort of early alert system in place. They decided not to fund it, that it was too expensive with their local budget. And maybe those decisions are going to change from here on out. But this is really just a tragedy. And to try to point the finger at DOJ, it clearly is premature at this point, Megan.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I really don't like it when people get really political during times like this. There's been some reports of different, just, normal people. Like I think one was a doctor, and then another woman who worked in an insurance company who had really politicized this tragedy and said really unkind things about this being a Christian camp and more than likely Trump supporters. And again, people that do that type of thing are just like hideous ghouls. I do want to move on to in the Doge realm. So I was highly entertained all day yesterday on my phone, seeing the Elon Musk of it all play out. For people that maybe have a life and weren't paying attention, Elon Musk is officially launching a third party called the America Party. So he's I know my producer here in the studio is laughing at that. I feel the same way, Les. I feel the exact same way. I literally like what is so funny about this is I mean, I have like many things to say, but I just want to set this up for people who don't know. The move comes after weeks of intense criticism from Musk about the legislation in the Big Beautiful Bill. He has reportedly referred to a uniparty in control of Washington, running up a massive deficit, and the America Party is his apparent attempt to break that up. Obviously, many MAGA influencers believe this effort will do nothing but hand power over to Democrats. Wes, and Miranda are not the only people that think this is a ridiculous idea. Could we please show number 9, Harry Enton, showing the polling on this?
Says he has found it. What's his base?
Yeah, this entire thing makes very little sense to me. It makes about as much sense as selling sand in the desert. What are we talking about here? What is the size of Elon Musk's base? Well, I calculate it to be about 4%, just 4%, 1, 2, 3, 4% of all voters.
God.
What is that base made up of? Well, it's those who view Elon Musk favorably and the GOP unfavorably. We're talking just about 4% of all voters out there, because it turns out most of the people who like Elon Musk already like the GOP already. That is, they already have a party for him. In my mind, there is just no base for Elon Musk's third party in the electorate, at least initially speaking.
I love Harry.
I love Harry. He's so great. He's so great.
He's like put that man on TV all day long.
I know.
I think he's like such a great broadcaster, and I also think he gives me like really useful information. We use his clips all the time. I just think he's like one of the most fantastic people on TV. We salute you,
totally. Highly entertaining, and you know whatever comes out of his mouth, it's not partisan, right? Like he's just going to tell you what the numbers tell him. Like it's great.
And he has these like he's like very funny with like he'll be like later on in the clip he's like it's like trying to sell sand in the desert to someone.
Amazing.
Well, I want to ask you. I just want to tell you all a little story really quick. So throughout my dad's entire career, people were always trying to get him to run as an independent in a third party. Like it happened when John Kerry was running. It happened when President Bush, when he lost against President Bush in 2000. People were like always coming to him and being like, you can do it, whatever. And keep in mind, my dad had like an unusually high approval rating among Democrats and Republicans. And he never saw a pathway. He was like, it's not logical. It will only help Democrats. This is only a way for like political strategists to make money. I think the entire idea of a third party run is a way for strategists to make money. What do you make of all of this? And is this just Elon Musk being, quite frankly, like out for revenge and pissed off that he's been exiled from MAGA land?
Just a reminder of how big his ego is. I mean, larger than the state of Montana. Look, I mean, they said it right there in the clip. Where is his base? The man is persona non grata in both parties right now. Democrats, I mean, they were furious at, there was a congressman, why his name is escaping me right now, Ro Khanna. Right when Elon Musk was like, screw Donald Trump, this bill is terrible, Ro Khanna like suggested that maybe Democrats should reach out to him and form sort of this alliance, you know, the enemy of my enemy is your friend, right? And try to get them on the Democrat side. People in the House were pissed at Ro Khanna for even suggesting this. I mean, I just don't see a world in which any Democratic voter is going to come over and be like, yeah, I'm going to vote for an Elon Musk candidate or join Elon Musk's third party. And then Republicans, I have said this time and time again. I mean, I know I've seen the polling. Some people have suggested that, oh, actually, Elon Musk is pretty popular with a large chunk of the GOP. But guess what? He's popular because Trump made him popular.
Totally.
Yes, he has more money than God. I understand that. But when it comes to people getting excited in the Republican Party about him, it was they were excited about Doge. They were excited about his energy and like bringing the chainsaw on the stage and the fact that he was super close with Donald Trump. Over and over again, if you ask Republicans to take a side, who are you going to choose, Trump or Elon? They're going to choose Donald Trump. So I don't see the audience here. And like, if you don't have people following you and you're trying to lead a parade, what is that saying Nancy Pelosi used to have? You're just a man waving around a flag without anyone following you. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either.
he was tweeting at Andrew Yang, who obviously ran for president in 2020, and his whole thing is like a possibility of doing a third party. And I just want to say, like, Andrew Yang's a very nice person. I've met him many times, and he's like personally wise, very kind. But I just don't know what the I don't know what the base is for a neonatalist tech bro and another man who thinks that we should have a universal basic income. Like, I just don't know who this is for. Again,
That
like,
is the weirdest combination ever.
but like, who is this for? Like, and I'm not trying to be like, like trite about this. I legitimately am like, who is this for? And like, look, I have many issues with some factions of MAGA. I have many, like, as everybody knows, but like at a certain point, you have to go to the dance with the person who brought you. And like, I just remember No Labels, the organization with the late great Joe Lieberman and I believe John Huntsman. There was like a group of people coming
It's
together.
Joe Manchin, right?
Yes, Joe Manchin. They
yeah.
were trying to get a candidate together to run against Trump again, third party, and nothing ever came to fruition.
Right.
Like, Americans are a two-party country for better, for worse. We're not Europe. And like, do you think it's, and I just want to say, like, I'm very pro-immigration. This is not a stance on this. Do you think it's because he wasn't born and raised here that he doesn't understand just how ridiculous this concept is to Americans?
Well, look, I think like obviously there's a steep learning curve when you're undergoing and learning basically American politics, right? I mean, I think we showed that, or he showed that when he came in with Doge and made a ton of cuts that could have been messaged a lot better, and yet the way they
Totally.
did them just was sort of bungled. And right there, you saw his introduction to U.S. government was like just he gets an F on that in particular, but. I I think there's a bigger reason too beyond his base not really being there. There's no Elon Musk base. We also have to sort of understand all the hurdles that are before anybody who wants to start a third party. I mean, I'm not an election expert, but I was like reading a couple stories about this weekend and all the things you have to do to jump through 50 states, different local and state, election hurdles to get somebody on the ballot. There's going to be lawsuits, Democrats who are going to sue him, Republicans who are going to sue him. That takes time, that takes money. And so it's just like it's a lot easier said than done on this. And again, that gets back to your suggestion. Maybe he just doesn't understand American government. Maybe, I don't know. Or it could be that this guy, again, going back to the ego, the size of Montana, has, he's overcome a lot of skepticism from people in the past when it comes to business, but government is a whole different thing. There's a lot of rules and regulations that you're going to have to follow. Like how much money can he actually give, third party candidates? At some point that would be limited, right? Because of various government election rules, et cetera. So for a bunch of reasons, it doesn't make sense. I think the headline is really interesting and it says more about his relationship with Donald Trump right now than it does about whether we'll actually see a successful third party in the future.
Does
My
he not
husband
have any
Ben is a
advisors
go ahead,
telling
sorry.
him that, you couldn't even get someone elected to the judge, like that judge elected in Wisconsin? How do you really think you're going to get a whole president elected to the entire country? And look at how hard it was for RFK to get his name on the
Yeah.
ballot in all 50 states, and he's got incredible name recognition. He was
Right.
an actual potential viable third party candidate.
Or any
Um,
libertarian.
Right,
They've been running for
exactly. The
president forever.
libertarians, then
Mhm.
they tend to just go Republican because of all that,
Yeah.
because there's never a libertarian candidate. So what is he actually thinking?
Rachel's not
Oh,
a psychic.
oh yeah, I know.
She
No,
can't
but
get
I'm going to go back to my
It's
ego
rhetorical, yeah.
big of Montana. So yes, it's
I do
really
want, to
amazing.
your point, I do want to show this clip of President Trump, number 3, responding to Elon's third party, because I do think the fracture in their relationship is pretty fascinating.
Reaction to Elon Musk starting a third party.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
Okay,
Have fun
so
with it.
what happens, Rachel, with their relationship? How much damage can Elon do? Can he fund like, I was just like, when I was reading this yesterday, I was like, I think he's a few degrees away from going totally woke. Like, I think he could just like fund a bunch of Democrats and be like, I was wrong. I've been blue pilled. I see the light.
Oh my gosh, if he did that, can you imagine? Maybe
No.
then Ro Khanna wouldn't be, getting yelled at from his colleagues about reaching out to him. No, I think in terms of the Trump Musk relationship, I feel like that relationship is sort of broken beyond repair, at least for the foreseeable future. I mean, the fact that he suggested Trump was doing something untoward with Jeffrey Epstein is probably like,
Yeah.
once you go into that territory, there's like no coming back. But look, I think that the most harm Trump could do to this Elon Musk movement would be to just, again, express that this is going to hurt the party going forward. We got the 2026 midterms. They want to hold the House. Trump is obsessed with holding the House. And so the more they can sort of paint him as like, look, if you are rallying behind this guy, you're going to ruin a potential Republican, majority, the better for him. I think, and they talked about this. Mark Halpern was talking about this on Two Ways this morning with his, co-hosts, this notion of people being blackballed if they work for Elon Musk. I think the Trump folks are very powerful, not just Donald Trump, but the people in his political orbit. I mean, they are going to go after anybody who in any way aligns with Elon Musk. And so I think that is another dynamic that we should take into account. I mean, voters are one thing, but you've got to have people to help stand up your organization, to stand up your, political campaigns, et cetera. And anybody who goes and works for him is going to be in the doghouse and, is not going to have a political future here when it comes to politics. So
I was watching that too when Mark was saying that Elon will not be able to find anyone to staff him. And I was like, I actually don't agree. I just think it's going to be like the Lincoln Project people, like a Steve Schmidt, like people like that who are already ostracized from MAGA land. Like there's somebody that'll do it for enough
and we'll
money.
lean into it for their brand. That's a good point, Megan.
Yes. Like it exists. It's just probably not the caliber of people you want working for you if you run for president. Really quickly, we have a question from Colin for you, Rachel. Colin, so nice to see you. He's one of our regular callers, videoers, whatever. Except your "Don't Tread on Me" flag is gone. I don't know where
It's
it is
there.
now.
It's just hidden.
Oh,
Yeah.
never mind. I'm sorry. Your head's in the way.
I was going to
Colin.
say, is this a statement? Are you starting your own third party?
Starting your third party too. What's your question, Colin?
Well, so real quick, the commentary on Elon Musk, I think it's just the same mindset that would lead Mike Bloomberg to drop $1 billion just to win America Samoa. I think that's kind of where I'm feeling like Elon is at right now.
I forgot about that. He paid like $100 per person or something, right? In Samoa.
It was insane. Yeah.
Can you just give me that money, please? Hello.
Yeah, I'll take it for sure.
Ridiculous.
But my question was about Mike Johnson and the big beautiful bill, because I don't think anybody thought that he'd be able to get it done. I mean, nobody thought he'd be able to get it passed by Memorial Day, and then again by July 4th. It just seems like time and time again, he's pulling rabbits out of hats and making things happen. So I was wondering if it's typical for the party in power to lose a large number of seats in the midterms, and with the majority being so tight, it's almost just expected, like it's written in stone already that Republicans will lose the House come 2026. Do you think that there's something about Mike Johnson that he might be able to parlay into just defeating those odds and kind of beating everyone's expectations? And something that was kind of making me think this is, I was talking with a friend of mine, and she's very, very, very Democrat. I mean, obviously we still get along. I think everyone should be friends with everyone you disagree with. But we were talking about the Medicaid cuts and the reforms in this bill. And I explained to her, like, look, the work requirements, it's 80 hours a month, and you're exempted if you have a child under 10 or if you are disabled. I was like, it doesn't seem that much like to ask for people to be staying on government health care. And she said, oh, I hadn't heard it that way. All I had heard so far is that 17 million people are losing health care and people are going to die. So I think, is a combination of the right messaging and just Mike Johnson's magic, could that bode well for the Republicans come 2026?
Oh my gosh, so many good questions, Colin. Let's just star him and bring him in.
Sorry, that was a lot.
I wrote them down. I'm gonna tackle them in order if you don't mind. So Johnson, in terms of his sort of superpower, his superpower is Donald Trump. I mean, yes, he has very much exceeded expectations. I will say. I mean, you go back just 7 months ago, some people in Trump orbit thought the president was actually going to sort of push him to the side and go with another speaker. But I'm sure the president is glad he didn't. Johnson warmed him sort of his way back into Donald Trump's good graces and has really worked with him to get this legislation through. I can say I did not expect them to get that Memorial Day deadline. I did not expect them to pass it by then. I certainly was skeptical about the Senate passing it by July 4th, and they passed the whole thing and sent it to Trump's desk. So yes, but I will say a big reason for his success is because of the man in the Oval Office. Nobody wants to cut cross Donald Trump. And the reason these conservatives and moderates cave and get in line is because they're afraid of him. So, that's more of a Donald Trump sort of thing. As for 2026, yes, the midterms, usually the party in power loses about 24 seats. Obviously, that would mean a Democratic sweep of the House. Last time around in 2018, when Trump was president, Democrats flipped 40 seats. So the odds are very much against House Republicans right now. But there is some hope that a couple of things could change that. Number one is the amount of money that Donald Trump has raised. What is the number now? Is it now $1 billion? I can't remember. It's
I think I saw 1.5 billion.
yeah, over the weekend, I think was that one of the headlines is so much money. And he's going to use that money to try to keep the House because he knows if Democrats flip the House, he's going to be impeached a third time. Like, let's all sort of just know, that's going to happen. We know that's going to happen. So he's going to really put a lot of money into that. And then the other thing is Trump has really expanded his coalition, right? I mean, typically you have, a group of sort of minority voters that Democrats have counted on for a really long time to be a part of their base. And that portion of voters is having second thoughts about the Democratic Party. They've moved over and voted for Donald Trump in wide margins. And so there is some hope that that could change things. And as for, Medicaid, it was, who was it this weekend? James Carlisle was actually saying that the Medicaid bill was going to be the thing that lost Republicans the House, but it's not that simple, as you were saying, Colin, because work requirements themselves are actually pretty popular. They poll pretty well. And when you talk about taking away people's health care, yes, it really, rallies people and could very much help Democrats the way it did when they tried to repeal Obamacare in 2018. But this is a smaller segment of the population. It's, some people who are undocumented immigrants. And so it's not as sort of clear cut as the Obamacare example was. And so I think that there will be messaging challenges for Democrats, including the fact that a lot of this stuff doesn't even take effect until after the midterm. So you're going to have a lot of Democrats saying, hey, he's taking away health care, 14 million people are going to lose insurance, et cetera. But number one, it won't have happened by the midterms. Number two, it's a little more complicated with the work requirements and undocumented immigrants piece. And I just think it's not a sort of clean kill shot for the Democrats the way Obamacare repeal was. So I hope that gives you some answer of your very good questions.
Thank you. And that just made me think too, is because their opposition to this bill, my kind of frustration with it is, okay, you have a right to oppose it, but give me an alternative. What are you fighting for instead of fighting against? And that seems to be pretty common. They don't seem to know what message. They seem too afraid to take a stance, upsetting, people on either side of their party. So since it's more complicated than just we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, and people could kind of understand that as a simple message, is it going to require them to kind of propose an alternative to the policies that they're railing against?
Maybe, but also maybe not. I mean, think about it. Republicans, they created a red wave, just, railing against Obamacare for a long time. There was no alternative there. It was get rid of it. And they did it, they campaigned on it successfully. And so I don't know that they would need an alternative per se if there were cuts in place. I think if they actually start talking about alternative, that's where you see the divide. You have Democrats who want Medicare for all, single payer. These things are not super popular, and other Democrats who don't even want to touch those things. So, if I was a political strategist, I would tell them not to talk about alternatives and to just keep the focus on Donald Trump. But, of course, there are some political types who will say you have to run on something affirmative, not just against something. I'm not sure I believe that, though.
Thank you.
Colin, thank you so much. Did you have a nice 4th of July?
I did. Yeah, I was with my family up in Tennessee. It was a great time.
Well, we're happy to see you, and we hope you continue having a good summer, and call back in anytime. You always ask the most intelligent, wonderful questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
See you soon, Colin. Okay, I want to move on to my favorite topic right now, which is every Republican's favorite topic, Rachel, which is the Mamdani of it all. Zohan Mamdani, the socialist, radical crazy person who's probably going to be the next mayor of New York. I have a bunch of friends who keep telling me there's a lot of oppo coming out about him, which means opposition research, which means stuff that wasn't found out about him when he was initially running. And in fact, that did happen over the weekend. So the New York Times published an article on Thursday of revelations obtained via hacked information. By the way, that will include my information because I went to Columbia University and graduated in
What are we gonna
2007.
find out about you,
So I'm
Megan?
Which boxes did you check, Megan? Which boxes did you check?
I checked Caucasian because I'm a white person. I'm not under any illusions that
How dare
I'm
you
not
be
a
honest? How dare you be
Caucasian.
honest?
And you
I
still got
did.
in? Oh my goodness.
And just good old fashioned nepotism, I guess. Even though it didn't work for him, even though his dad is his dad
Professor.
is
Love
his
that
dad is a
lean in, yes.
professor there. Anyway, let me get to the point. So he Mamandani applied to Columbia University, my alma mater, in 2009, and he checked the box as he was a black man and Asian in the portion of the application. People are saying it's because he's from Africa, but you can be from Africa, as Elon Musk and Charlize Theron show, and not be black. Like, you're talking about a racial box that they're checking. The New York Times reported that Mamandani told the paper in an interview that he did not consider himself black or African American, but rather an American who was born in Africa. Uh, do you care about seeing? We have a clip of him saying the same thing. He has said again and again he does not consider himself a black man. This seems to be something that's only upsetting Republicans, but I think, like, let's turn the table, and my Columbia applications out there, which I guess is somewhere on the internet, by the way, and have a field day. And I had checked black instead, or just a race that I wasn't, whatever, Hispanic, whatever. Like, I feel like people would have some feelings about it, but for whatever reason, a lot of people are giving him a pass. How much of an issue is this for him? Again, this seems to be just like another bit of a bunch of oppo that have come out, including a picture of him giving the finger to the statue of Christopher Columbus with a rubber glove on, because apparently he was wearing gloves during COVID, whatever. What do you make of all this, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a political liability. I mean, Eric Adams has already basically latched onto this to suggest that he's using race to try to advance his way in the world. There was this quote over the weekend: "The African American identity is not a check the box, a checkbox of convenience." So, I mean, Adams is definitely going to try to use this to come after him. I will say I come at this a little bit differently because I don't feel like this is sort of an Elizabeth Warren 2.0 situation. I mean, we all remember the controversy with her where she sort of checked a
Yeah,
box.
she said she was Native American.
Right, exactly.
Ridiculous.
But like this is a little different. I mean, he was born in Uganda. He lived there for 7 years. He is of Indian heritage, but his dad's family had been there for like 100 years or something like that, had lived in East Africa for 100 years, which, I mean, race aside, and we don't know if there was any sort of, inner, racial marriages or anything like that. But like, tradition wise and cultural wise, they were there for a his whole family was there for a very long time. He's a dual US and Uganda citizen. He talked about this often. When he was in the state assembly, his webpage apparently touted that he was the first South Asian man and first Ugandan to serve in the New York State Assembly. He talked about it some on the campaign trail. So I don't think, for me at least, if I was a New York voter, like, I would not look at this and be like, oh my God, what a liar. I mean, there are, like, serious justifications, I think, for maybe checking both of those boxes. If you're applying to a school, you're trying to give yourself the best leg up. It's not a lie to say his family has connections to East Africa and Uganda, et cetera. So I guess that's just how I see it. I think, it will be interesting to see how Eric Adams, again, uses this in the race, whether he tries to sort of repel Mamdani from like black voters. And I think you could very well see that. But it feels a little more nuanced because there really is a family history in Uganda for him.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of other questions about him in general. I mean, we've been talking about it for like over a week now, just that, he wants to tax white people in New York more than minorities. He wants government run grocery stores. He's just a proud socialist on every level. And again, like, this is a whole new, to me, it's like very honest about the direction of the Democrat Party. But I think the tricky part is the fact that, he went on Meet the Press last week and he would not say that he is not okay with the statement globalize the intifada. And he's been highly criticized by Jewish groups, including our friend Jonathan Greenblatt, who's the head of the Anti-Defamation League. And then another clip came out over the weekend, number 7. And this is a clip I just want to say to our viewers, anyone watching or listening, this is a pretty anti-Semitic clip, but I think it's worth showing just because it shows what kind of person he is. I also just want to say, like, from my perspective on the world, we should never, ever, under any circumstances, make fun of anyone's religious practices. I think it's just disrespectful in general. Okay, number 7, please. Okay, we get the point. It's a longer clip. It's like a whole sketch video. I guess he was trying to be an actor at some point. This clip has been really ripped apart by Jewish advocacy groups for showing Indian men cosplaying Jews. He also does another video, which we just don't need. We didn't have time to show, making fun of Christians and Christmas. I don't like any of
Supposed
this.
to be funny about that. I don't get.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't really understand.
I mean,
the context of it, but-
even just as like I can remove, like if I want to remove the racism from it, but like what's funny about it? It's just not funny.
Well, I also have this whole mandate that I would like failed actors and failed theater kids to stop going into politics as a second term of their life, like because they fail at that, so they want to go into politics. There's too many goddamn people who are failed actors and musicians trying to be in politics. I hate it.
Well, even worse is he's come out and talked about that clip saying he's actually not in it. He doesn't appear as an actor in it. He just reshared it, which is even worse almost because it's like he watched that, thought it was funny enough and good enough to reshare to his followers. So it's not even like, oh, I made this and I'm proud of it. He thought it was hilarious and thought it was funny and worth sharing. So I don't know if that's might even be worse on some kind of level.
The broader question for you, Rachel, the politics of it all. I think he is moving the goalposts of what's acceptable in the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And I think the Democrat Party is moving more and more towards is it DSA, Democrat Socialist of America Party? I actually do think this is the future. I actually do think we could see a convention in 2028 where Globalize the Intifada is in like headlines and on a banner behind a candidate. Like, I actually do think this is the direction of the party. And it's not that I think there are Democrats that don't disagree with it. I just think Democrats are powerless to stop it. I think Chuck Schumer has no power in this situation whatsoever. Jerry Nadler, no power. Nancy Pelosi, no power. What do you make of all this? And do you think that he is the future? Because I really do. I have never underestimated this man. Pull the receipts. We've been saying for over a month we thought he was going to win. I was like basically laughed at by a few people, by the way.
Name. Yeah.
I think he's going to be a mega star for Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd go as far as, globalize the Intifada, like, my God, but this direction, this is clearly the direction of the Democratic Party, especially when it comes to, democratic socialism, et cetera. I mean, right now that is ascendant. People talk about if a Democratic primary was right now, AOC would probably be the one to sweep, the primary for president. So, and I agree. I think that is true. I think that moderate Democrats are increasingly extinct, and when they do speak out and sort of push back, they're very quickly, stifled and pushed back on and being told to shut up by their own party. And part of it is, you're right, the leadership of the Democratic Party. There just isn't any. I did this column a few months ago where a speaker, Nancy Pelosi, sort of communicative strategist, came on and talked about the Democratic Party and how much of a mess it is and how there's not strong leadership right now. And part of that is because you don't have a Nancy Pelosi anymore. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, very new, very green, seems very concerned about what the left thinks of him. Pelosi, when she led, she was in a very different position in that she told people to sit down and shut up. She would tell the progressives, like, I need your energy, but not your policy. I know what can win elections. I know what can win middle America. We're not doing Medicare for all. We're not going to do the Green New Deal. But like, where are the Democratic leaders who are willing to say that right now? They don't really exist. You have, Ken Martin over at the DNC, who, one of my colleagues at Politico reported basically, was crying on a call and saying it was too hard of a job and that he was being undercut by David Hogg, who's like, 25 years old, or like, it's just, you don't see the type of sort of backbone that the party needs to say no to the move toward the left. And so absent that, yes, the tug is going to continue and they're going to continue to be pulled to the left. And I think another place to look for this is going to be in the primaries for 2026. Donna Brazile and I have talked about this, in green rooms at ABC and like actually on set too at ABC, but like she just thinks there's going to be this big, inter-party fight and that, it's going to be a bloodbath in primaries. And I think she's right. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of folks on the left win, but then it'll be interesting to see, if they lose, their general elections, because that's not where most of America is right now. It's just not.
I love Donna Brazile, one of the best Democrats alive, the kindest, nicest, and truly a brilliant woman. And
She's
for
also
whatever
a
it's
great
worth,
cook, by the way.
she is. I did not know that.
love
We did a
that.
panel right before the election, and she was very honest about the sort of like shortcomings of it was right after Biden had dropped out and Kamala had come in, and I was like really fascinated by how candid she was. I really enjoy her in general. What happens to a John Fetterman? Because I really like John Fetterman. I mean, maybe that's cliche. I feel like most Republicans like John Fetterman. I think he's very normal. Do you think he will have a hard time when he runs for reelection in 28? And, what do they do with him? Because I appreciate him because again, he's like not from New York or California. And, he's a different man. He like definitely is much more a man of the people. He goes on Joe Rogan. He dresses in sweatpants. Like I like John Fetterman. I really do.
I feel like he
think
just
he's a
tells
breath
the
of fresh
truth.
air.
Yeah.
Yes. Like we are John Fetterman fans on the show.
He's not
But,
worried
like,
about image and all of that.
yeah,
Like
but
the
like
Hey,
Hakeem
Leah,
Jeffries.
I have a joke
Yeah.
that he's like the Kirsten Cinema of, the new
Yeah.
age or whatever. Like Republicans loved her, just loved her. And by the way, also a really interesting dresser. I always was fascinated by her
I
wardrobe
didn't, for whatever it's
choice.
worth, I did not love it. Like, and I would
Yeah,
say
me
that to her
either.
face. As an Arizona woman, we got enough like PR problems sometimes with how people interpret. I think putting on a suit is important at work. Just
Or
saying
just
it out
not
of
wearing
there.
like wings to the center of the floor, like
I
literally
just
wings
and
or a cape.
rings that say "F you" on it, and like wigs and whatever. And again, like women can do what they want, but I love people who dress professionally in professional situations. For some reason,
Is
maybe it's
that a
because I'm
dig
like
at me because I'm wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants at work?
it's fine. It's
Fabulous. I
fine
like
for
that.
this. We're doing a podcast. We're not on the Senate floor, but
Yeah,
it's
we're
like
not.
there's something
That's true. We're not.
comforting
I'm very
about
Fetterman
like,
today.
yeah. And I would
Yeah.
prefer he wear a suit, but I know he won't. He's like giving many explanations, but
He
that's
looks
again,
like my
that's not
dad on Sunday. So, and I love that. I love my dad on the Sunday. So,
yes. But is there a
Yeah.
place for him? Like, do you think he'll get primaried? Like,
Of course he's gonna get primaried.
God,
Yes. I mean, like, where's
sad.
Kristen Cinema? Where's Joe Manchin? Like, I mean, like, it's just there's no forgiveness for these types of positions they're taking. And not to just bring it back to Nancy Pelosi, but she had a saying like, vote your district. We have to let our colleagues vote their district. That just doesn't apply anymore. Like, there's no leadership standing up for these people, just being like, back the F off. Like, this is just who they represent, like the types of people they represent, and they have to be able to do that. What happened to Big Ted in the Democratic Party? It doesn't exist anymore. So, I mean, 2028 is a long time from now, but you can already see it. The party has turned on Fetterman. What was that comment he made over the weekend about how he wants to go home and like,
Yes.
during the
missing his
Big Beautiful Bill
vacation.
debate.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it
He
was
was like, my
hilarious.
kids are at the beach. I
Like,
need
why
to.
am I not at the beach?
I want to go home too.
How come
I
I'm not
mean,
at the beach? Yeah.
yeah, no kidding. But of course, like his own party was taking this and be like, oh, what, you don't want to stand up for working class Americans? You don't want to save people, from losing their health insurance? I was like, come on, guys, like get the stick out of your ass.
Also, we know what he's saying.
Yes,
Like he's
exactly.
missing. Like, relax. Like
Right.
all of you wouldn't
But
rather
the
be on the beach.
the point is the target is already on his back.
Yeah.
So I would be shocked if he wasn't primaried, and I would be shocked if he didn't lose, just given like what's happened in the past to members who are like him. So
In regards to AOC running for president, there's a lot of people, including my old boss, the speechwriter for President Biden, and now he's my old boss and I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. He used to be the editor of Newsweek. But he was saying like a Trump popularity brings the likelihood of AOC much higher, like meaning like AOC becoming the nominee. There's just certain things about AOC that like politics completely aside, I just don't know how this works in Iowa, in South Carolina, in Bow, New Hampshire. Like at a certain point, you got to get in front of real Americans and win them over to become president or to be. I'm not saying she can't become the nominee, but I just have real questions, including. I don't care how sexist this sounds. I have been very honest with this about Cory Booker, about Lindsey Graham, about everybody. I need a first lady or first man. I just do. I need something. And a mom doesn't count. Like, I would prefer she get married. I don't care what that makes me. I don't care if that makes me like a raging sexist, but like, I just don't understand how like she thinks that there are certain things that she cannot do. And I don't mean getting married. I just mean like moderating in any way possible to be the nominee for president. And crazily, I actually think Democrats could do it with her.
I think that she could easily win a primary. Do I have
Yeah.
questions about a general election? Absolutely. By the way, covering an AOC versus JD Vance election would be
Fascinating.
just amazing.
Yes.
Like amazing personalities, like so out there,
Their
so
ages,
online.
too.
That debate.
Like,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
it's gonna be, I could see it happening. I mean, yeah, she's gonna have problems with middle America. There's no doubt about that. I mean, but again, I don't see Democratic voters writ large, let alone, Democratic officials pushing back against that and saying that's not what we want. It's like they don't like, it's like the lessons of 2024 haven't quite set in. Not quite set in. They haven't set in at all. And that's a problem for them. So yeah, I could see her having a real general election issue.
But I can see her being the nominee. I'm with
Absolutely.
you.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I can actually see it. And people that again are downplaying that are not living in
Who do you
reality.
see as her vice president? I know we're on time, but I'm just curious.
That's a
An
good
old
question.
white man that's moderate.
Like Gavin Newsom or like
No,
someone less
like a Tim
powerful?
Kaine, like a boring old, like the
Some-
most boring white bread. Do you know that there was like that thing when Vice President Harris was choosing Tim Walz, and people were putting like in the wine section, and it was like classic whites, like wine, like something. Like I feel like it's gonna be like that, like just like a boring mainstream. But I think that she could.
Bernie.
And guess what? That will not cool the fire for her. Like that will
No,
not.
it
won't
backfired
cover
on
up. Yeah.
Kamala.
Yeah,
For
won't
I
cover
would
up.
vote for a very extreme conservative, like an extreme conservative over her. I mean, I would vote
I
for
think a lot
like,
of people would actually. So, and a lot of people who maybe don't identify with either party. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I would vote for like almost anything.
I wanna wait and see who the America Party puts up, and then I'll make a decision.
Oh yeah.
Miranda's got the Elon Musk party. Rachel, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I think you're so brilliant and you have the best reporting. You can follow Rachel on X and YouTube at Rachel M. Bade. And I guess, is there anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want us to know before we say goodbye?
Not at the moment. I'm looking forward to a nice summer break, Megan. But no, thanks for having me on, Miranda, Megan. This is always super fun.
Do you get to take a break?
I think I'm gonna try. I think I need to. A little catch my breath would be
Usually
good.
summer
we'll see.
calms down,
I mean,
but
it's
yeah,
the
good
Trump White
luck.
House though, so we'll see. We'll see.
And then like the fall's going to be so crazy. There's so much coming. I really think everyone should take a break. And I really hope they give Congress recess. I'm with John Fetterman. Let them go to the beach with their family.
Let
Like,
them go to the beach. Yes.
I know. Let them go to the beach.
Let everyone go to the beach.
Love that. Love that.
And you can follow all of Rachel's work at Politico as well and on ABC News. Thank you so much, Rachel. We'll see you soon.
Great. See you.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye.
Okay, our next guest, we're so excited to have Paula Scanlon here. Paula is a former teammate of transgender swimmer Leah Thomas at the University of Pennsylvania. Paula, I'm so happy that you're here to give people who maybe haven't been paying attention an update on this issue that has been so important to Miranda and I for so long. University of Pennsylvania UPenn has agreed to resolve a Title IX violation with the Department of Education last Tuesday, stemming from Leah Thomas's participation on the women's swimming team after pressure was mounted from the Trump administration. I just want to know from you, Paul, what was your first reaction when you first heard this news?
Honestly, I was shocked and surprised. It was something I never saw coming. I mean, when I was a student at the University of Pennsylvania, the administration came in and told us that if we ever spoke out against undressing in a locker room with a man 18 times per week, that we would never even find a job. They said we were bigoted and hateful. They told us that if we didn't want to undress with him in the locker room, it was the same as people in the 1960s not wanting to undress with people based on their race. And they said, you don't want to be known as the bigots from the 1960s that held back progress. That is what they compared it to. And so seeing this, even any sort of acknowledgement that they were in the wrong, has been shocking, again, based on how insane they told us we were if we objected to it. So honestly, I was surprised, but I think it just shows again how strong the Trump administration is on delivering on this promise. I mean, they really campaigned on this. A lot of independent voters came over to their side on this issue. And so, again, I think that they campaigned on it and they delivered on that promise.
You know, Paula, this is an 80-20 issue, and Miranda and I talk about this all the time. 80% of the American public agree with the three of us that we do not believe that biological men should be competing against women in sports. Yet many people on the left still double, triple, quadruple down on this issue. What do you want people to know who still stand, against this issue, who still think that, it is bigoted to not want to change in a locker room with a biological male?
You know, I'm not sure what else can convince them. I mean, I think that the reality is males and females are different. I mean, we've known this for thousands of years. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It's something we've always known, and women fought so hard back in the 1970s to get Title IX. I mean, I've spoken, even on this journey of my advocacy in this space, I've spoken to many women that worked so hard to get women's sports, worked hard to have the opportunity to play in college. I mean, we've seen generations of women now come through and have the opportunity to play sports in college. Yet people are not willing to acknowledge that. And I think the evidence is very clear in instances where they've tried to have third categories and allow men to compete in women's categories. You see that the men are dominating these categories. That's something we can't simply ignore. But I think, I don't know how much else I can say. And honestly, I think it's probably more than 80% of Americans. I mean, grew up in the Northeast. I know many people that are left of center, left leaning individuals that hate probably most things that I believe. But they always admit to me quietly that they agree with me on this issue and that they actually were grateful that Trump signed an executive order to ban men from women's sports. And this recent action, they're grateful for that as well.
Yeah, Serena Williams also refused to play against John McEnroe for this reason. And I always think, why aren't we listening to people like Serena Williams, who's, the greatest tennis player of all time? We know that this is going to the Supreme Court soon. Do you think it will be successful?
I think it will be. I mean, I think really what we're looking at, what the Supreme Court is hearing is there's people on the other side that are trying to say, well, it's sex discrimination to exclude a male individual from women's sports. And I think that the narrative that people on the opposing side of this issue try to paint is that we're discriminating against people, right? That you're taking away these poor kids' opportunity to play sports. And that's not the reality here. I mean, there's room for these individuals to play in the correct sex-based categories. No one is being banned from sports. Leah Thomas, other individuals that identify as transgender, there is room for them on the men's team to compete. And I think that that's really what this comes down to. And if you take the spot away from a female athlete like me, like Riley, like anyone, we have no other category to compete in. So when it comes to who's being discriminated against, I think that I hope that the courts see this, and I do believe that they will, is that us female athletes are the ones who are being discriminated against. And we are the ones being sex discriminated against, not these individuals that identify however they may identify.
Paula, when you were competing against Leah Thomas, it was obviously during the hellscape of 2020. And I can remember seeing the news coverage and I was working in the Daily Mail at the time and watching some of the coverage in real time. And the people in the stands were not clapping for Leah Thomas. They were obviously, even like the mood in the room was like, this is wrong. This is not right. And I remember at the time, like sitting and watching with my husband and being like, this is bullshit and insane. And I don't care if I feel like the emperor's new clothes, but that is a man competing against girls and lapping them because obviously his body is a man's body and different. I don't care how he identifies. It's a biological male competing against women. And at the time, that was something that was like very taboo to say. People didn't want to touch it. What gave you the courage to come out publicly? And I just want to apologize to you that you even had this experience. I have 2 daughters, and literally I think I would like light a school on fire if they were put in this kind of situation. I literally think I would be on the news for all the wrong reasons if I were in this kind of situation, because I just find it just so awful on so many different levels. What gave you the courage to speak out? And this sounds a little like therapy speak, but like, do you have any trauma from the experience of this? Because it's all so public.
I mean, oh my gosh, so much trauma. Well, first off, also, my parents didn't even believe what was happening, or they would have been right there with you. I remember I would call my dad. My dad and I are very close. My dad was the one who took me in all my swim meets growing up. I really credit him for having even a career in college at all. And I would call him and he would say, Paula, I don't have time for this today. You're not being funny.
I don't have time for your prank. Like, he genuinely thought that I was just trying to be his, at the time, teenage daughter, just trying to rile him up. But it was happening, and a lot of people couldn't acknowledge it. But yes, it was incredibly traumatic. I mean, I am the type of person where I'm a horrible liar. I'm physically incapable of lying. I can't lie. I'm the worst liar in the entire world. So when people would talk about this situation or cheer him on or say we're part of this progress team, I would look there and I would say, guys, this is messed up. Like, I don't want him in my locker room. I don't want him competing on my team. And I don't want him taking records off the board. I don't want any of this. And then I would have teammates that, to my face and also behind my back, would say, well, you're a disgusting bigot and I can't believe you. And so I lost a lot of friends at the time in university. There was girls on my team who sent me really nasty messages about my viewpoints. There were people who went to the coach and insisted that they didn't want to room with me at swim meets because I was a disgusting bigot that they couldn't stand. And the university also told us that we needed therapy if we objected to this situation at all. So we felt really isolated. They said, we're here for you, but we're only here to make sure that you believe exactly what you want us to believe. And so it was an incredibly isolating time where you couldn't even have private conversations as the season went on. At the beginning, you could. And then once the administration got involved, you couldn't even talk one-on-one with teammates without people going behind your back and saying, oh, I can't believe this bigot, Paula, doesn't support Leah Thomas. But, that was in 2021, and now it's 4 years later, and like many of those people have come around and are now saying they agree, even though back then they pretended not to.
Do you think the coaches, because I never understood why the school and coaches were so defiant in this, and again, making you go to therapy is like, you should sue over that. That's insane. Do you think they just wanted to win? Like, it was so callous because it's like having this biological male on our team. Obviously, we're going to like kick everybody's ass all the time. Was that it? Like, I still don't understand why they didn't take the sides of the female players, or excuse me, female swimmers.
So, it's hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble for saying any of this, but my assistant coach from that season actually stepped away from coaching altogether after that season. She didn't want to be a coach anymore. I am in contact with her. We speak pretty regularly, to be honest. I got on the phone with her last week. I told her that honestly, she deserves an apology for what she went through during that season. Head coach still there. In my private conversations with him, he told me point blank, if I do not support this, they will fire me and put in a coach that will. So why should I lose my job over this? And to be entirely honest, I can't even blame him for that. I think part of it was coming from the University of Pennsylvania overarching. I mean, we had a different president back then, Amy Gutman, who's a Biden appointee to some useless ambassador job, I think Germany. I have no idea what she got appointed. Biden was also a professor at the University of Pennsylvania where he taught exactly 0 classes and got paid probably close to $1 million a year to be a professor. So that's kind of the underworkings we have sort of at the University of Pennsylvania leadership. And I think that they were very interested in this, and it was clear that they were because they would continue to highlight Thomas on social media. He was like the most featured athlete on the University of Pennsylvania social media pages when there's so many other talented athletes, both male and female, on any other sport. Thomas. And then they nominated him for NCAA Woman of the Year. Each school only gets a handful of nominees. The University of Pennsylvania said, let's nominate the man for NCAA Woman of the Year. So that is what we were dealing with. And again, I can't, of course, maybe my coaches could have done more or said more or objected, but it's really from the higher ups and even the NCAA as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that come to me that are like, I would love to speak out politically, but I worry about my job. I work in entertainment, I blah, blah, blah. And I just can't relate to cowardice. And I quite frankly don't like pussies. So like, I just can't, I'm not really friends with those people. And that coach, I'm sorry, it's a lack of, I mean, you have to live with that now. Like, I now know that you could have done something and you chose not to. And you put a lot of women in a lot of different situations that I think are not only immoral, but potentially dangerous. I want to ask you, I never understand, and I know you can't get into the headspace of someone, but I never understood why Leah Thomas thought it was fair. Like, legitimately, in your head and heart and soul, do you think when you see the photos of yourself standing next to these other players who are much physically smaller than you, and you beat them by, again, we're talking like minutes, which in swim, seconds matter, let alone minutes. Do you think that Leah Thomas thought it was actually legitimately fair, or just was like basking in the glory of all the media attention? Because I still don't understand what the end game was.
Obviously I can never speak to, like you said, exactly what he might have been thinking in the time. But also, Leah Thomas was the tallest member of both the men's and the women's team. So he was towering over people on the men's team, if to put this into perspective. And I'm 5'9", so I'm much taller than the average woman. And he was still like towering over me. And so that was what we were dealing with. So I think that the visual there was just so drastic to even look at. But on it, I'm going to say something a little controversial. Leah Thomas, in a way, is a victim of this too. And it's not a victim of what he did to all of us and choosing to compete and all of that, but of the transgender ideology movement. I mean, they really take you in and they convince you that you truly are a woman simply because you say so and believe it. And that anyone who objects to you and has a viewpoint that even slightly varies from the one that you're supposed to hold, they're a horrible and disgusting person. And that is the stance that was continually reiterated to not just us from him, but also from administration, also people in the LGBT center. I mean, there were widespread just propaganda. I mean, that's really the best way to put it. And if you go online, and I know you're probably familiar with Chloe Cole, and she's a great friend of mine, and we've talked in depth about
She's very brave.
That, right? How did you get into it? And the things that they're telling you are insane, and they indoctrinate you into this belief that I wake up one day and I'm a woman, and therefore I am a woman, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And so he was very much in that mindset where it says, well, I am a woman, so of course I deserve to compete in the women's category. It doesn't matter that I've grown up male. It doesn't matter that I've gone through male puberty. It doesn't matter that I'm 6'4" tall and the average female is 5'4" in America. It doesn't matter. And that is how he approached the situation, and that's how we were told about it, even from from everyone that talked to us and tried to suppress us, and from other people I've heard of that have gotten out of the transgender cult, for lack of a better term for them, have said the same thing.
What's next? What's the next hurdle for you? What's the next hurdle in this movement? Like I said, I have lost a lot of friends. This is the issue. I always say this is the issue that will get you really ostracized from the cool kids parties. It's the issue that my old friend Andy Cohen went crazy at me on Twitter about, like, never going back on Watch What Happens Again live again, despite the fact that I've been on like 30 times. Like, this is the issue. For whatever reason, it's the issue that I have lost quite a few friends over, saying, I do not think this is right. I'm not going to be on the side of this. By the way, I have a bunch of like awards for being a big advocate for gay marriage back when you were a baby, Paula, and I was younger, trying to pass gay marriage in this country. But none of that matters. So what do you want next? What is the next hurdle for this? Because I and millions and millions and millions of people want to make sure that no one ever goes through what you and your teammates went through. I just think it's so wrong on so many different levels, and I just don't think there's any space for anything like this in the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to continue to see other universities have to come and apologize. I would love to see legislation passed. I mean, we failed to pass it federally, couldn't get through the 60 votes in the Senate, which not surprising, but unfortunate. And I think the reality that we're looking at right now is, we say it's an 80-20 issue. I'd like to say it's a 90-10 issue. I mean, I really believe the majority of Americans are on our side, but yet the Democrat Party is not willing to change this in their platform. And I think that if they did, they would bring a lot of their voters that went over on the other side back, and they would reach back out to common sense reality Americans that have left them because of this issue. I mean, I know personally 10 different people that are lifelong Democrats that could not stomach voting for the Kamala Harris ticket because of this issue. I mean, we have to look at that, and we have to force them to make change. And I know, as I'm a identified Republican myself, like, of course I want Republicans to win elections, but I also want what's best for Americans. And the reality is the majority of people don't agree with this. And I think the second thing, and I would like to see, is, again, the separation from the concept of gay marriage to this issue. I think what happened is gay marriage was passed in this country, which, great, people advocated for that and they got their cause. And then it was, what's next? And for some reason, this issue was picked up. And I talked to people that are self-identify as gay and supported gay marriage. And they said, well, I don't agree with this, but yet somehow, because I advocated for that, I have to advocate for this. And so I would like to see that separation. And I think there are a lot of people who are coming around saying, I am gay and I'm whatever, but I don't support this. And so I think we need to see a little bit more of that. So the everyday white liberal feels comfortable saying, yes, actually, I'm on your same side. This is ridiculous. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter who you love, and it doesn't matter what you believe in. This is not acceptable. And I do think that we're getting there, but it will take people in the government on the Democrat Party to come out and say, yeah, guys, you know what? Not a good idea, and I don't agree with that. And so I'm interested, and I want to see them change, and for their sake, I do want them to drop this from their platform.
But then you see, like, Governor Gavin Newsom, like, scurry out and, like, say, oh, I don't agree with this, and then freak out and, like, scurry back in and be like, oh, actually, like, I just don't see Democrats moving on this for whatever reason. This is like religion to them. I want to say one more thing on this issue. I believe in civil rights movements, obviously, like any normal, rational person, but every civil rights movement throughout the history of this country is just about a group of people wanting to have what we all have natural rights to. The problem with this movement is it is taking away. It's taking away from women. It is taking away from my daughters. It's taking away women's places in the Olympics. It's taking away women's spaces in the Women's Museum in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, like the top 3 people last year were trans women that were put on the board. Like, I just have a problem with it. I don't care if it makes me a TERF. Fine, call me a fucking TERF all day long. I do not care. It does not hurt me. I'm not scared of anyone. I work for 2A. I don't work for ABC anymore. Anyway, Paula, you are a delight. You can follow Paula on X at Paula, Paulay Scanlan, Scanlan. Is there anything else you want us to know? You're so brave. I really appreciate you just getting out there and promoting fairness and freedom. It's hard. You're very young. I'm sure you have taken a lot of crap from a lot of people, and I'm really grateful for all your advocacy and hard work.
And we're just sorry that this happened to you. That
yes, I am sorry this happened to you.
You missed out on all these opportunities and chances that you could have had. We're just terribly sorry that you worked your whole life, and this is just terrible that this happened to you.
Well, yes. Don't be sorry, but I'm grateful for you guys again for being so passionate about this issue. I think that's really how we won on this, and we're still. I mean, there's still so much work to be done, but I'm grateful for you guys for platforming this, for talking about it, for losing even some friends, and I can relate to that. But you know what? I'm better off without them, truly, and I will never. I will die hopefully many years from now, and I won't regret speaking my mind and being true to what I believe in. And I think that's what everyone should really strive to do. Just be yourself and don't be afraid to say the unpopular thing if it's what you truly believe.
Also, you're living in courage and truth, which is a true way to live your life. And I know a lot of people, Paula, like a lot who will come to me privately and be like, I agree with you, but I'm too scared. Well, I agree with you, blah, blah. And again, like, can't relate to that feeling.
No way to live.
Yeah, totally. Paula, come back anytime if you want to talk about this or any other issue. And like I said, congratulations even on this small win so far. And I hope that UPenn gets all its funding pulled until it completely rights all these wrongs they did to you and your teammates.
And that the Supreme Court is, it's stacked in your favor. So let's just say that. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
And thank you, Paula. And thank you, obviously, to Rachel Bade. We just wanted to get that in with Paula because it was like such a, obviously such amazingly breaking news over last week, over the 4th of July weekend. Miranda, anything else you want to say before we say goodbye? I know we went way over. I'm sorry, we went way over. We went 10 minutes over, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Anything else? Anything else you want to add?
If we're doing the show we plan on doing on Wednesday, I'm very, very excited for
We have a juicy, controversial Epstein, Diddy, our old friend Colonel Kurtz, who we all are obsessed with and love, and I know you guys follow.
Koberger. We're gonna get into some very juicy,
murder,
weird, creepy,
sex, Diddy,
legal
conspiracy
stuff.
theories, legal. Because Miranda and I love a conspiracy theory. I do.
We're gonna take a little tiny break from the big beautiful bill and DC and swampy whatever, and just get into murder and conspiracy and weird sex and baby oil.
Karen Reed. Yes, we're excited.
Karen. Oh my God, yeah, Karen Reed and the Diddy fans spraying baby oil on each other outside the courtroom in Manhattan, being freaks and all of it.
What are you doing with your life? Like
weird,
spraying baby oil on yourself outside Diddy's courthouse. What happened to you? What happened
I don't love anybody enough to do something like that. Like,
if you were on trial for that, I would not do that. I'd be like,
no,
what happened to you? People are crazy. Last thing I remember, again, I was still working in news when the Michael Jackson verdict came out, and I just remember watching it live with my friends at Newsweek magazine and people letting out doves, like cages of doves. Do you guys remember this? Like with each, as it happened, I was like, America is a crazy country. Crazy country.
So weird. Like I remember when Free Britney happened and everybody was outside the courtroom and they were like waving their Free Britney flags. Like that's different. That's a different thing. This is like releasing doves and squirting each other with baby oil that's a whole other like level of mental illness we can discuss on Wednesday. But if we can pull this off, I'm so excited for that show. I cannot
Yeah,
wait.
we're gonna have a fun just conspiracy theories on Wednesday. We're excited. I mean, unless there's some like insane breaking
Something
news, but
crazy that happens, which I'm sure is gonna happen.
I hope
But
not.
I really want to do
Anyway.
this show. Yeah.
Miranda, I'm so glad you're feeling better. Thank you all
Thank
so much
you.
for watching. Thank you so much, Wes, for being a wonderful producer the past 2
I
weeks here in
know.
Arizona. I want to thank everyone at this beautiful studio. Can I give the studio a plug?
I'm gonna miss you
What
in
is it called?
Arizona.
Bright Spark Media. Bright Spark Media is this. I have to say, this is such a gorgeous studio. I've had such an amazing time here. If you are in Northern Arizona and you need a studio, it's been an absolute pleasure being here, and I am lit like a pop star.
You look
This
gorgeous.
lighting here.
It's
just
been
keep this
yes.
lighting on me everywhere I go. And I guess I just want to thank everyone here. Wes, everybody, and obviously my bosses and colleagues at 2A for letting me do this in Arizona. It's been so wonderful being home. And I'll be back again in DC on Wednesday. And thank you all so much. And Miranda, we'll see you for Conspiracy Theory P. Diddy Baby Oil Wednesday. You guys know you want it.
I'll bring my baby oil. Yes.
See you guys soon.
Bye, guys.